Hello, America, and welcome back to another episode of To Hear Me Tell It, the life and times of Jerry Daniels. When you've had your daily dose of today's craziness, dealing with all them Karens out there, ride shotgun with old JD as he goes back and recounts the life and times of growing up in the South during the 60s and 70s. I believe we were called baby boomers. Stories that you will say, yep, I done that, but I ain't gonna tell my kids. And I ain't never told my spouse. But whatever the truth be, it will be this, to hear me tell it. Well, hello, folks. Welcome back to another very late episode of To Hear Me Tell It. Yeah, I took a month off. And you may say, well, why? I was tired and I was busy, mostly busy. Anyway, I looked this morning before I started recording this one, and I have not recorded a podcast or a YouTube video of To Hear Me Tell It since March the 18th. That was the last one I did. So being that today is the 15th, I believe. Yep, today's the 15th. So it's been darn near a month. So anyway, I give y'all a break. I took a break. So it is what it is. I really don't like saying that, but I did. Anyway. Start by saying I really appreciate everybody who continues to listen and watch when I do post a new one. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, I got the tickle. I don't know what it is. I guess it's the pollen. I don't know. You know, everybody goes, "Was pollen bother you?" I go, "No, I don't. No, it doesn't bother me." Well, it doesn't bother me as in I don't get all that stuff, but maybe it causes that thing in my throat. I don't know. I went to, and let me back up and say, it is becoming more apparent, and I'm not the only one, but just it's part of the cycle of life. But it's become more apparent to me as the older I get, the more I find myself dealing with sadness of my friends and family members, as in we all getting older, and hell, my days are numbered. You know, when I say that, I'm talking about, you know, let me back up. I'll tell you the story. So, my great friend Todd Smith's mother passed away, Miss Phillis Smith. What an icon in Taylor County, y'all. And I don't know if ever I have met or will ever meet a woman as humble, kind, loving, dedicated as her. She was awesome. Phillis Smith was awesome. I've met many like her, but there's only one Phillis Smith. And I was not able to go to her funeral, but I was able to jump in my car and drive down to the visitation, and I did that. So I jumped in my car, drove 3.5 hours south, went to a visitation, lasted about 2 hours, jumped in my car and drove straight back. She surely deserves that kind of honor. And when I got there, I walked in the door of the fellowship hall, and they had a thing there. You sign in, you know, showing that you were there. And there was a guy coming out just as I was going in. And he was an older feller. He's about my age, maybe a little bit older. And he had a Band-Aid on his nose. And y'all, I didn't recognize him. And he said, "Hey." So he knew me. And he said, "Man, I love your podcast. When you going to do another one?" I said, I'm working on one. You know, I'll get one out. "Well, I listen to them all the time. You probably don't know that." So, that being said, that was daggum Wayne Peterman, and I didn't even know it. So, Wayne, you got out of there quicker than I could find out who you were. And there was a lot of folks there that I didn't know who they were. But that was Wayne Peterman. Got out of there before I knew it. Hell, if I'd have known it was him, I would have said, "Hey, man, I want to talk to you about this lawnmower part I'm looking for." But he got out of there too quick. So, Wayne, thank you for listening. I was not aware. I was not aware you were a loyal listener, but I sure do appreciate you, brother, and I wish you'd hung around. I'd like to chatted with you. So daggum missed him. And let me tell you something else, because when I was at this thing, the visitation for Miss Phillis, I personally brought a dozen and a half of eggs in anticipation that I would run into my lovely dear friend Miss Peggy James. Everybody knows Peggy James. Peggy Poole, Bobby's wife. So I saw her and I thought, man, and when I got there, she wasn't there. And like the first hour, I didn't see her. I thought, man, snap. And then I saw her when she come in. I jumped up and I ran over there. And, well, I didn't jump up because I wasn't sitting down, but I walked over there and I said, I am so glad you're here. She hugged on me. And Miss Peggy's always so sweet because she always tells me, which I love. She goes, my mama loved you. Well, I loved your mama. That Miss Helen James was a sweet and dear woman. Sweet and dear woman. You mess with her kids. She's a sweet and dear woman, let me tell you. But I was glad to see Peggy, and I ran over there and I said, I got something for you. And I ran out and she said, did you bring me honey? I said, no, I ain't got no honey. I sold my bees and I'm done with the honey business for now. Like, y'all keep an eye on this honey business. And I said, I got something for you. And I ran out and I got the eggs and I brought them to her. And I said, I just want to give you these. And she was very appreciative. So, and when I say about the honey, I told y'all why I got rid of my bees. I did it because the reality of it was the right thing to do. I didn't want to do it. It's the right thing to do because our neighbors were here before I got the bees. They got a swimming pool. I got the bees. And then according to her, my bees became a problem. And so not like it was only my bees going to her daggum pool. I had 4 watering holes on my property, and I told y'all the whole story. I went out there and videoed them and timed them, how many bees, how long, what's the average length of time a bee drinks, and I averaged it out like 11 seconds or something like that. A bee would light and she'd do her thing, and then so it averaged out that they drink for about 11 seconds. And then I was taking pictures and counting them, literally taking pictures and putting on paper and counting little dots. And then and I averaged it out for each drinking hole that I had set up for them. And it was in the tens and tens and tens of thousands of bees drink at my water sources every day. And I can't think of how many more bees would go further away to drink water when I had all this water right here by them. And anyway, so I took the high road, was going to say, I'll be a good neighbor. I'm not wrestling with a pig or fighting with a damn, unsensible. Anyway, logic didn't seem to be in the equation anymore. So I gave them up. And get this, their house is on the market for sale. So they're selling their daggum house and I got rid of the bees. So, all right. Anyway, but I was at this visitation for Miss Phillis, and I saw a lot of people I ain't seen in a long time. And it's got to the point, I talked about being at this age in my life, it's got to be that get together at weddings and funerals. And I missed our high school reunion this year because I was doing something. I don't know where I was, but I wasn't in town. I couldn't go. But yeah, weddings and funerals. That seems to be the thing. You can plan for weddings, you can't plan for funerals. Oh, that's the reason I missed the damn high school reunion. I was at a damn wedding in Alabama. So, it was great to see David Reddish and his wife. It was great to see all the Smith family. It was great to see Tracy Walls. I hadn't seen him in it. Gosh, honestly, y'all, I had to do a double take. I saw Amy Brewer, had to do a double take. Loved the fact that I got to talk to Miss Naomi Posey. That was just a joy. What a sweet lady too, man. What a sweet lady. And got to talk to Ed Gwynn and Bucky Johnson. Got to see Bucky Johnson. If anybody that knows Bucky Johnson, you ain't got to see Bucky Johnson. You just got to hear him. Y'all, I'm sorry. But you just got to hear Bucky Johnson, and you know who he is. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I tell everybody else, drinking water or something doesn't soothe your air pipe. It just goes down your esophagus. That didn't make it any better. But anyway, so great conversations, a lot of, let me tell you this, let me tell you that, and reminiscence and stuff like that. But here's something so profound. One guy walked up to me, and it may have been, it was an older feller. I can't think who it was now. I got to see Kyle Kennan. I ain't seen Kyle Kennan in forever. And then got to see the Scott boys, Chris, Craig, and Clint. And but one guy walked up to me, and I forget who it was, but Jerry Daniels. I said, hey. He said, man, I know that was you. I said, you did? He goes, yeah. I could tell by the back of your head. I thought, really? I'm 64 years old, and for some reason you can tell me by the back of my head? I don't know what that was about, but anyway, I made a mental note until I got to remember that. But I was glad that I was able to get down there to the visitation, and again, I think she was just shy of 95. I think she was just shy of 95, and I think her children, grandchildren, her children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. I think she may have some great in there too. But anyway, total be like 90, somewhere between 95 and 99 of them. So big family. And Bruce Goddard did the eulogy, so he did, and I watched it online. He did a good job. Nice job on you, Bruce. All right, the chickens are doing great. I say they're doing great. I still got two of them that's got that, I call it chap back. So it's a spot on their back. It's just no feathers and it's bald ass red. I don't know. I've treated it. I've done everything I can to it. Ain't nobody picking at it. Ain't nobody messing with it. It's just ugly looking. But the other day, it's not common, but it's not uncommon either. But it's just not on a frequency of like every single day. But there are many days, and day before yesterday was one of them where they laid 12 eggs. The day before that was 11. Yesterday was 11. And they may have laid one late yesterday. There may be one out there. Maybe they did 12 yesterday. I just didn't know it. But they're doing good. Had to make some rearrangements inside the coop to get the air to flow because it's starting to warm up. Turned on my automatic thermostatically controlled. How's that? Vent fan that vents out and whatnot. So... And had to put up the fly traps because now the fly season is here, and now the carpenter bees are everywhere. I can't stand carpenter bees. And I get this now. You can. I've got carpenter bee traps out. I put them out, and what I do is I catch a queen. I'll catch a queen bee. Well, I say a queen. They don't have a queen. They have a female. So that the carpenter bees. Some people call them bumblebees, but the carpenter bees, if it has a white face, it's a male, he can't sting you. And those are the guys that are territorial and they challenge you when you get around them. A female bee is a black-faced bee, and she's looking for a place to eat and make a nest, and that's where she lays her babies. But so it was cool the other morning, and I was outside, and it was probably 40-something degrees. And I saw a female carpenter bee flightless. She couldn't fly. It was too cold. And I had on a pair of these little cloth cheap gloves I bought at Home Depot. Those gloves that are just like designed to last a day. And I had those on, and I picked her up, knowing that she can sting. But I picked her up in such a way that she was trying to reach me with her booty, trying to sting me, and she couldn't get to my fingers. So I picked her up and was walking, and my goal was is you take a female carpenter bee and you kind of squeeze her to kill her so she don't move around a lot more, and then you just rub her carcass on the entrance holes, and it drives some other bees crazy, and then they go in there. So I picked her up and was walking with her toward the trap, and then she got out of she was in this hand. She got out of this hand, and I reached over to grab her with the other hand, and y'all can't see it, but buddy, she laid into my thumb. Stung the crap out of me. I thought, son of a bitch. I threw her down, pissed me off. So I picked her back up, and I threw her in the chicken coop, and she was gone in like less than 2 seconds. So I'm in search of another female bee. I thought I had one the other day, and I slapped her down, and then I couldn't find her. So, but the chickens they're doing well. I still got 12. They're getting more ballsy. When I say that, I mean when I let them out, they're becoming more difficult to get back in. And this is just my observation. If anybody keeps chickens, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, or if I'm just squirreling. But I think it's just Occam's razor type stuff. It's not a whole lot of data, but I'm thinking the more time they spend outside free ranging and foraging for bugs and snakes and critters and whatnot, I think that their eggs are smaller. And I also know that if you let your chickens out more and they free range and they do all that stuff, they're more apt to get internal parasites. So I don't know. I just try to release the stress. So I think my logic is more time outside is less stress is better egg production. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, chickens are doing all right. What a great time to be an American. I say that literally. I got to clear my throat really hard. Hold on. I know if you just hit the stop button, I don't blame you. I thought I had all this taken care of before I come over here. What a great time to be an American. We had NASA and because President Trump, kind of like President Kennedy, a visionary kind of guy. But yeah, we're going back to the moon. And my understanding is with the Artemis went there and the crew. And this is the first time, I don't know how many years, but it's been a long time. But I think over 50 years, I think. But they launch off the Earth, they circle around the Earth, and they slingshot toward the moon. And then they fly around the moon, all the way around it, and they slingshot and they come back to Earth. I'm not really sure how all that slingshot stuff works, but it's got all thing to do with magnetic field and gravities and all this other stuff. And a lot of engineers are very smart people that figured that out. And to think they did this back in the Apollo days in the 60s. And they were doing this with frickin' slide rulers. They don't have anything like they had. They didn't have anything like they have today. And they still did it successfully, and they did it well. So anyway, they set the crew, and they did it, and evidently they went further than anybody in space flight. I don't know the distance, but they went further than anybody. And they got, of course, we got more advanced camera and data collection equipment today and instruments, so they got a lot of good data and whatnot. But it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that was 2, and then there's 3, and then there's 4, and that our goal is to set up a not a colony, because I was like, oh, you're colonizing the moon. No, we're not. But going to set up a place that people can go to the moon, land on the moon, and then they have like a lab, kind of like in that movie, The Martian, with Matt Damon. Is that his name, Matt Damon? Yeah, I think it's Matt Damon in The Martian. That's a funny movie. It's a good movie. But I guess they're going to set up like a lunar station. How about that? And we'll refine that, and then that will become, I guess, a launching pad or a road, a rest area, a rest stop. It's going to be a rest stop and a supply station for those who are going to venture out and to go to Mars. So don't know what's on Mars that we need to find out, but we're human and we tend to explore. So anyway, great year to be an American, and that's pretty impressive. So, and I love it. I say I love it. I don't love it. I find it just entertaining, I guess, is the liberals and Democrats are screaming about the money being spent on keeping Iran back in their little sandbox. They're savages, but keeping Iran back in their sandbox and make sure they ain't got no damn hands on no nuclear weapons, nuclear material. That's important to global security. But listen to all the liberals, especially the Democrats, screaming about the money being spent. I'm like, well, y'all don't seem to be screaming about the money that's been squandered. So, I mean, if you take all the money that has literally been stolen from the American taxpayers, and then a whole lot of people going to jail in California, Ohio, Maine, Minneapolis, Michigan, and the list goes on. New York, this fraud ring, and you know what? It is so blatantly obvious. It's the liberals who create all these programs so they can do their virtually signaling to everybody, and they go, "Oh, look at me! I did this and I did that." All they do is they create programs to get handouts, and then now they're abused, and the fraud and the waste, and I always say follow the money, and we're going to find out just how many of these damn politicians like Tim Walz and his attorney general. And the folks up in Maine, Janet Mills and the likes of them, how many of them are really involved? Newsom, all these people, Holcomb, whatever her name is. So anyway, and at first I thought it was just a joke, but now I truly believe that TDS, I believe it's real. And I say that because y'all see the same thing I see. You see all these news reports, all these videos of all these protesters. Again, people who protest ain't got a damn thing to do, or they're paid. There's a lot of protesters that are paid. They just get paid. But looking at all these protests and these women that wear these pink hats and going, you see all these people protesting. Hell, they're all like 60 and 70 and 80 years old. Most of them are white, and they don't have a job. I guess a lot of them are probably retired. Don't y'all take this wrong, because not all of them are this way, because we're talking left coast and liberals. So they're probably retired educators or retired doctors or retired psychologists or retired lawyers, but they don't have a job. And I'm serious, y'all. I watch some of these videos. There's some people out there that, especially that No Kings rally, that was a joke. No, we don't have a king. Of course we don't have a king. It amazes me how they attach to this, some juvenile, childish, stupid slogan. No kings. But yeah, we've never had a king. Matter of fact, our founding fathers killed. That's what the American Revolution is about. We didn't want a king. Damn, man. Read your history. Those are listening podcasts. That was a drink of coffee. So, but I look at these people. Y'all, they're crazy. I'm serious. I mean, they have like things that ain't firing right in their brain. Nobody can be that stupid and be considered sane. I watch these people. I'm like, and I listen to the crap coming out of their mouth, and I love it when the reporters go, "Well, can you give me an example or share me some statistics or tell me how you came to this conclusion?" They can't. They're just like, lost sheep. I mean, they get up in the morning. What do? I'm going to go protest today. Why? I'm going to hold a stupid sign that's not even spelled right. I'm going to get out there and just go, "No kings, no kings." Or they get out there and they LBGQQAZ, Cleany, something. We lost our rights. Like, well, what rights did you lose? Well, you just look it up. Well, no, I'm not looking it up. You're out here protesting. You stand on your own 2 feet, but tell me what you're protesting about. They can't. Donald Trump is a racist. Really? When? Where? Show me. Bring me some receipts. He's a pedophile. Really? Where? When? Bring me some receipts. They got nothing. All they do is just, and they just regurgitate all this bull crap that somebody's pumped into their brain. All right, enough of that. I'm gonna do this one last. I'm gonna get it on my list here. I said I've been busy. Man, have I been busy. We have, and I talked about this about the insurance company. You would think that if you had homeowners insurance, which mine goes up every damn year, my homeowners insurance and my automobile insurance and my health insurance every single year continues to increase. So it's just, I guess it's a catch-22. I mean, they go, "Oh, this year your military retirement pay is going to go up, 1.2% or 2%. And then COLA is going to be adjusted, blah, blah, blah. So this will go up, 1 point something percent." I'm like, that doesn't keep up with all the energy cost and the insurance. And that's my main things right there. I mean, Granted, I'm not happy about the inflation of a lot of things, but damn, really? So I think my next one is just going to be on Medicare, which I've got to get on here within, 9 months. Yeah, I'm not happy about that. I'm gonna rant and rave about that. But you'd think I'd call my insurance agent and say, hey, I just spent $7,500 cutting down these big ass, huge, massive trees near my house so they don't fall on my house, so we don't have an incident, and then I don't have a claim. You don't have a claim. My wife and I are safer. We reduce our footprint of what's called the exposure of liability. You think that my insurance premiums will go down? Nope. Not a fat freaking chance. Not a fat chance. So we hired a tree cutting company. And I did a video and a podcast a couple months ago about I really suck at picking contractors. I got lucky. So even the blind hog finds the acorn sometime. I got lucky, found a great group. They're called Panther Tree Experts, I believe is the name of this company. They did a great job. They did a really great job. Well, then I turned around and found a guy that would do the hardscaping. Brought in, gosh, I don't know how many loads of dirt, built a big retaining wall. I cut down probably another 5, 6, 7 cypress trees. Bob Gherkin, I know you're listening, and Mike LaFay jumped in there too. Like he always likes to whoop my ass when he gets a chance. But and I did. I was ignorant. I thought a Leyland cypress was a pine tree. And boy, did I get fixed real quick. They're not pine trees, they're cypress. So I Googled it. Is a cypress and a pine the same thing? They're not. So I had to trust but verify. So Bob Gherkin fixed me. I said, no, they're not. So I didn't know that. And Bob Gherkin, I'm going to tell you something, buddy. If you're inclined, I'll pay for your room, your lodging. You can stay here, and I'll feed you, and give you all the adult beverages if that's your thing too, as long as you stay sober. But you're welcome to come here and help me and Laura finish this landscaping project in the backyard. We have no idea. We'll screw it up in a New York second. And Joe Stitka, man, he had some app. I don't know what he used, but he took our backyard picture and then he kind of and made it look. Man, I thought, damn. And he even had the chickens in the yard. Joe even had the chickens in the backyard in this photo. It was hilarious. And maybe if I can get it, I'll post it right over here. If I can find it, I'll put it up over here. But he did a really nice job. And me and Laura were looking at it. I thought, man, wouldn't that be nice? The chickens will destroy it. They will. And if there's, I learned a lot about bees. Now I'm learning more. I've learned a lot more about chickens. Is you can't have good stuff. You can have good stuff with bees, but other stuff comes with them. And now with the chickens, if you let them out, you can't have nice things. You can't. They do what chickens do. So we finished that project, and that was another. I ain't gonna tell you how much. Yeah, I will. It's damn $12,000. So to get all that done, and then I was like, "Ooh, we gotta put down something for erosion control until we get the sod done." So, and we're in a drought, which is. It's not a blessing. No drought's a blessing. It's just I'm lucky. But I called Super Sod down in Canton, Georgia, and said, "Hey, you got any centipede on your lot?" And the guy goes, "Yes, we do." I said, "So you're there? You're in Canton?" "Well, no, but I have." It was a number I called for Super Sod, but he's able to look and see their inventory of all their locations. I said, "Okay, so you got centipede in the lot in Canton?" "Yes." I said, "Okay, I'm on my way." I got the price. I jumped in my truck, hooked up my trailer. I light out. I get down there. Guy goes, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yep." I said, "I called and spoke to Alex, and I'm here to get me a pallet of centipede." He says, "I don't have no centipede." I said, "Well, you must be mistaken. Alex says you do." He goes, "Who's Alex?" I said, "Hell, I don't know, man. I showed him my cell phone. I called this number." Alex answered the phone. Well, they just don't have our up-to-date inventory. And I started to go, "Well, have you updated your inventory? What's he looking at?" Anyway, I didn't say that because you ain't going to get nowhere. I said, "All right, well, I'm in a position where I've got to do something to prevent erosion that would cost us even more money if it would come for a heavy deluge rain. And then he told me about, Sorgia, and I've got spots of Sorgia in my yard, in my lot, and I thought, okay, I'll buy that. That shit was $200 more a pallet. I said, we ain't buying Sorgia. I ain't paying $500 something for. That's like $10 a square foot. I said, I'm not doing that. Sorry, can't do it. So he hauls around, and we talk and we chat, and he said, well, I got about 3/4 of a pallet of centipede, but it's old. It's been out there for 5 days. He said, you can have it. I said, for how much? He said, $40. I said, let's go look at it. So walked out there in the yard, looked at it. I thought, all right, I'll give you $40 for it. Give me one of them big, I call it a super sack, about 1,900 pounds of good compost, good screen, good compost, healthy topsoil. And I brought that shit home, and I worked my tail off. I got all that stuff spread, all of it leveled out. I put down all that sod, and now I'm watering it. So I got to bottle feed it, hoping it's going to survive. I don't know. So then we had another contractor, had 3 other contractors come and give us quotes on finishing up the whole sod thing in the backyard. And we'll see. The promising part is I like this one guy. I like him a lot. Hope he gives me a good quote. I haven't gotten it yet. But he was standing there on the property and looked down in the woods down there, and he said, damn, them some big logs. I said, yeah, we just had all these huge trees cut down out here. And I said, I could not afford to pay that guy to haul all these logs off. And I just told him to roll them down in the woods. And they're unsightly. The guy standing there looked at me and he said, I got a firewood business. Can I have them? I said, brother, you can come get all them damn logs you want. So even if I don't take his quote, which I hope I do, because he seems to be the most knowledgeable and professional in the group. He's really young. His name's Landon. And I hope he comes, because I hope he gets those damn logs too. So anyway, more to follow. If y'all do follow me on Facebook, I'll maybe the next video or something, I'll post a few pictures up here about the backyard project. All right, 2 more things left, and I'm already at 31 minutes. I'm going to start with, I only have 2 left. I have come to the conclusion, and many of you probably have too, or maybe you thought this, our Congress is not functional. It's not. And I'm sad. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and we're both in our, late age. He's in his 70s. He's 70 or 71. And we were talking, and I said, it's difficult, not TDS type difficult. It's just difficult to be an American-loving, freedom-loving, liberty-loving patriot. And there are millions like me. But me, I served my country. I thought I was serving for the right reason, protect all this stuff, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the Constitution, the Republic. And we have democratic processes that are supposed to work. I just don't see any of it working anymore. And I'm sad, because I'm sad for my children and my grandchildren. I'm sad for the young Americans that are being born today, what they're going to have to tolerate. And I ask that they don't tolerate it. They fight for liberty and freedom. They fight for that. And anyway, our Congress, I don't believe, is functional anymore, and that's sad. It's sad. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, I don't care. Independent, doesn't care. The House is broken. The House doesn't work. A House is not only, it says united we stand, divided we fall. Well, the damn thing was set up to be divided. And it bothers me that we have 3 branches of government and only one branch has a term, the president. That's the executive branch. Can only do 2 terms. And I'm not a scholar, so I can't tell you if it's got to be 2 consecutive. I don't know. And I don't care. But the judicial side doesn't seem to have any term limits. They can be old, decrepit, senile, broke down, radical, whack idiots and still serve and continue to serve. You know, that old woman that died, it was on the Supreme Court, whatever her name was. Man, that woman couldn't even stand upright. She couldn't function. She couldn't function. And then in the House and both chambers, whether it's the Senate or the Congress, we got people, I don't care what party they're with, but we got folks that, man, they're done. There is no other organization on this planet. So we'll just keep it in North America. We'll just keep it in the United States. There is no other place in the United States that you can have a job and just keep working until you just are completely, utterly dysfunctional. Maxine Waters comes to mind. She's like 87, 88, but the age is not relevant. It's her capacity. I don't think, and y'all can correct me on this and look it up, but I don't think Maxine Waters has come to work in months. I don't know when the last time she's been seen. But how can she be relevant? How can she be? I don't get it. Maxine Waters, Mitch McConnell, Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, and there's a whole laundry list. These guys are like older than dinosaur bones, man. I'm like, y'all are done. We the people, it's reasonable for us to have expectations that the House be functional with people who are capable and functional. But they're not. They're not. I can't believe some of the ages of these people. If this was, I mean, the military doesn't operate like this. Civilian organizations don't operate like this. And like, you know, I mean, I've been in the military long enough. I was in the military long enough to see that we had some folks that had some age on them, and you start going, I don't think they're at their prime anymore. Athletes, when you reach your prime, you're done. Horses, when you reach your prime, you're done. And it's amazing. That doesn't apply to frickin' politicians. It's the only thing that doesn't apply. Politicians and judges, I guess. I don't get it. And now we got, we've always had it. This is nothing new. You read your history. This is nothing new. Just seems to be amplified because of social media. But we got a problem with ethics and morality. But that's been since the day of man. Sin. That's the sin of man. But the irony that Eric Swalwell, the truth is now all coming out, and karma is a big time getting his ass. So, yeah, Eric Swalwell, you get everything you deserve, brother. You get everything you deserve. I hope they uncover and expose all of the ugly truth and what you're really about, and that karma gets you good, real good. Okay, my last thing. I'm almost at 40 minutes, and I got to get going here. Is my drone business. Now, y'all know that Jerry Daniels owns and operates. My wife and I own and operate Eptera Drone Imaging. There's the logo right there. Eptera Drone Imaging. And we're into our year and a half. Really slow business. And I suck at marketing. I do. That's not my forte. I am terrible at marketing. I can make marketing material for somebody else, but I'm terrible at marketing me. I'm really bad at it. But in our first year, some of the feedback, if you will, and conversations that I had with clients and potential clients is, I want to get my drone license. I said, to fly a drone commercially. And a lot of them were like, well, no, I just thought you had to have a license to fly one, for my own personal recreation use. And I go, no, you don't have to have a license to do that. You may have to register it, but you may not. But you don't have to have a license to do stuff just for recreation. But I also ran into a number of real estate agents and home inspectors and a few other people that are using drones commercially, meaning they're using them as part of a revenue generating package. So if a real estate agent flies a drone and takes these pictures and that becomes part of their thing, they're using their drone to generate revenue. They would need a commercial drone license. And the same thing, if a home inspector is using their drone, they're still using it as part of a business. They're generating revenue. It's part of the package. They need to have a FFA. It's called a certification rating for an unmanned aircraft, Part 107. So I met a lot of these people, and a lot of folks didn't have them, don't have them, but then the ones who do want to have them go, I don't know where to get it. And I'm like, man, Google. And you can find an enormous amount of resources out there. Could someone sit down at a computer and do all their research, do all their studying, and go take the exam and pass? The answer is yes. It requires a great deal of time, a great deal of note taking, a great deal of saving records, and then studying, and then watching hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of video, which is only one-way communication, and hope you understand it. And whatnot. There's webinars and stuff that you can pay for. You can buy an entire class for like $300-$400, and then you have unlimited access to all the reference material, and then you can do that. Or you can come to old school, me, and come to a class. And we're teaching our first class this weekend. So up here in Jasper, Georgia, our first ever, an introductory, it's a beta, a pilot course. It's called the Part 107 exam prep course. It's going to be comprehensive. It's going to be thorough. It's going to be hands-on. We got training aids, but it will be very impactful. And when I say impactful, I'm talking about the training I developed the curriculum, but it will be delivered in such a manner that it will have the greatest retention effect, so that you're not drinking out of a fire hose, hoping you remember everything, and you remember all your flashcards that you created by watching all those videos online, and then you pay the $175 at a testing center. You have to register. You have to pay for the class in advance. And you set up a date. You go take the exam, and if you fail, then you lost your $175, and then you got to wait at least 2 weeks before you can retake it. So, but anyway, that's it. I have developed a course that will be very impactful. So we're delivering our first course this week in Jasper, Georgia, and it will be all day the 18th and the 19th of April. And if anybody is interested, if y'all know of anybody interested, tell them by all means contact Aptera Drone Imaging. There's my phone number. There's the email. Give me a shout, and I hope to see them there. So I'm pretty excited. I've got over 160 hours just in the curriculum development alone. And there will be an opportunity for the students to go through, I guess is the word, but anyway, thoroughly review. And we have over 300 test question samples that you can, now that when you take the test, I think it's only 60 questions, but I've got over 300 sample questions that you may or may not see on the exam. So that's it. That is Aptera Drone Imaging. We're teaching our first class. So if y'all know, if anybody is interested, please tell them to call me. Do have seats available, and it will be a good training session. So we're at 43 minutes. I got to wrap this up. All right. Again, thanks everybody. I want to end with something that I'm going to ask everybody to do, and I'm going to ask everybody to lift up Larry and Lisa Kirksey in your prayers. Continue to pray for Mike Posey. But what Larry and Lisa are going through, this is a tough time, y'all. And it pains me and it breaks my heart to see such a good friend go through so much pain. And this is tough. This is tough. Y'all pray for Larry and Lisa Kirksey. Please do. So, Larry, I know you're busy and you may or may not listen to this, but I love you, brother, and I just pray so much that that Lisa have no pain, and that y'all's emotions are settled. Not that you had anything to settle. I ain't saying that, but y'all are good with it. God is great. All right, that's it. Mike Coker, you're probably heading back up north. And I met somebody in a class the other day from Wyoming. I said, but she lives down in the southeastern side, and she knew where Star Valley was, where Mike hangs out in his RV. So God is great, guys. God is great. And I love y'all. Thank y'all for being I thank y'all for being patient, and I apologize for such a long delay. Bicycle.